it's so simple to me what I want from my kids. I just see it as very simple.
Say that again. What do you want as a parent?
I want them to look and say, who am I? I want them to think constantly about who am I. I want them to be examining themselves and saying, who am I? And then I want them to look out and say, what's important and what's important to me. Those are the main things. And then I want them to grow over time. I want them to based on these things, which is really, your passion, right? What you're passionate about, what you care about. I want them to grow. I want them to grow mentally from immaturity. I want them to grow to the point where they're more mature. Their mental model is different. It's more tight, or it's more mature. But this growth is never really stopping. It never stops.
Can you tie that to the? To me, that looks really similar to the mapping system that we're after.
Right. It is.
So can you
talk
about that?
It's just the process of noticing things, what's important, noticing things that are important, based on who I am and what my passion is. And then it's about dreaming about new worlds, connecting and learning about those new worlds or those potentials, which grows your map, it allows you to grow mentally. And then, that's the connection piece. And then you have to do things in order to see if it works, and then you just keep doing it.
And I was thinking specifically about the activity systems, and how this one over on the right, hopefully it's how your mentor looks, and you're trying to morph yourself over there. Is that?
Well, maybe, or maybe it's just your mental map. It's a mental map is just a representation of the things that you're doing and that you're connecting with, and maybe you're dreaming about.
Can you connect this to the activity systems mapping that we're working on?
Yeah, it is. It's all part of that.
Can you talk through it? Because I don't see it.
This is an activity system, so this is different connections that you're making related to who you are and what you're working on. And depending on the person, this isn't the big difference to me is that if you were to step back and think about this from a standards perspective, okay, so standardization is sort of this concept that we're going to standardize what kids know, right? That has nothing to do with who
they are. We're trying to standardize who they are.
So that tells you that you have to standardize who you are. This puts the person or the kid or my kid, if it was my kid, at the center and says, who am I? What's important to me? And then maps around that. And their mental ideas and what they want to do with themselves and what they believe is important and what they work on because of their beliefs.
And so
you could easily think of this. I think this is the shift. You could easily think about these mental maps as standards, right? But it's not. These are individualized maps for each kid, and how those maps change over time. I even hesitate to say mature. Mature maybe is a good word, but improve. I hesitate to say that. I just think it's just maturity. It's a mature map. So you could think of an expert tutor in a specific subject as maybe having a mature model, a mature mental model in that subject.
Of how they do those notice, dream, connect,
that's how they go about their world and what they notice and do. For example, an engineer, right, has a certain way, certain lenses that they look at the world through, right? So they notice things and their mental or their lenses, the way that they look at things and their mental model makes them, or they look at a problem and think about design as a solution for solving a problem. Okay, people who aren't engineers don't have mental models like that. They have different mental models. Not to say that they're any different or they're any less important, And that's where this is. I think that's where this is incredibly intriguing, I guess, is because
they just have
not everyone's going to be an engineer.
Yeah, they just have different
Not
noticings.
everyone
right.
Has that in them. It's not what they want from their life. Maybe they want to be a yoga instructor, right? It's a totally different mental model. You don't see the world as necessarily problems. As if you want to be a spiritual leader or a yoga instructor, you don't see that, okay? But their mental model is also maturing over time. As a yoga instructor, they're constantly updating what they learn, how they relate to people, how they relate to their inner being, and how they reflect that out into the world. It's not any less important, I believe, in our society than the engineer. We need spiritual leaders. We need people who help people heal from the inside out. And you can map their mental models and see the same growth.
So the new standard is personalization.
Yeah, I mean it is. I think so.
And
then figuring out a way to map that. And I guess what we're trying to do in the innovation lab, or what I want to see happen in the research we're doing, is just learn from creating these mental maps and looking at them over time, and then learning, just reflecting on them, and then seeing what we can learn from them. I mean, do we learn that they help us think about where we are in our mental development as an individual, maybe compared to an expert tutor's mental map? Maybe if you compare the two, maybe it would help you do that. I don't know.
I'm even thinking that they're going to help with a pruning system that's necessary, because we feel comfortable with what the engineer does at school, not so much with the artist. Right. This will free up the artist to do things and become better at their craft, but it's also going to help the engineer to become even better, because we're going to prune out some stuff that the engineer doesn't necessarily need by our given standards today. So
yeah, or maybe it will open up more validity and acceptance for alternative disciplines, or areas where people could build their mental or grow mentally over time. And maybe the engineer could have several mental maps that are in parallel, and they're not only improving their mental map in their analytic skills or their engineering design skills, but they're also, have a spiritual side of themselves, and they're building that over time, and they gain validity in the system, in the school system, or in the education system. If you want to look at the maps in the existing system, it gives them some validation for doing that within that system, because these types of maps are recognized as outcomes of learning, or evidence of growth, I guess, is probably a better way to put it. I don't know.
Thanks.